Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It is top of the hour. I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. My name is Anthea Martin. I'm the chair of the State Housing Board. We're going to start the meeting with a State Housing Board member's roll call. Sam Betters, I see you.
Present and accounted for, and I will be voting Candace Payne's proxy today, just to put a note out there.
Great, thank you. Nancy Jackson.
This is Ryan Moses, and I've got Nancy Jackson's proxy for this meeting. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. James Martinez. So James is not on yet. We'll circle back with him. Ryan, thank you for speaking up earlier. Candace Payne.
Candace is not here. I'm proxy today.
That's right, Sam. LaDon Sperling.
Hi, I'm here. I do need to recuse myself from Williams Point because I am also on that board.
Okay, thank you, LaDon. And James Martinez has Monique's proxy. James, are you on? Okay, I don't think we have James on, so we don't have James or Monique or Nancy, but we have 4 members present, so we do have a quorum today.
Will we be okay on Williams Point, even though I need to recuse myself?
So Ryan and Sam are both carrying proxies, so yes, and I also need to recuse myself from Leora.
Okay.
We'll be okay. We'll have just enough votes. And hopefully we will have James Martinez join us. Great. We're going to have an introduction today presented by Andrew Atley. Andrew, are you present?
Yes, ma'am. Allison just asked me to say a couple words about Division of Housing kind of being in the midst of the summer engagement series. This whole slide seems a little bit too much just for that. But we had the first session was last Monday in Lyman. Great attendance there. And then Friday we were in Greeley, had a couple of technical issues. Power went out in the building and we had to cut that one short. But we're looking forward to being in Durango on Monday, Grand Junction on Tuesday, and Summit County next Friday. So if you're in the area, sign up and come take part. They've been real valuable. So yeah, that's all we had.
Thanks for that, Andrew. It's a good reminder for us all. Next up is the expanded supportive housing projects via the 2024 PSH RFA, and Zach Schaffner will be presenting.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Zach Schaffner. I'm the Community Partnerships and Development Manager for Division of Housing's Office of Homeless Initiatives. So quick context on this. Historically, Division of Housing has used the annual RFA for the creation of supportive housing to allocate project-based state housing vouchers and tenancy support services. The way that process works is we make a conditional determination of vouchers and TSS funding. Then the projects, we provide a conditional determination of those resources. If we're working with CHAFA, they review those applications and those conditional determinations. And then the projects come back to DOH for gap financing, at which time the State Housing Board is reviewing those applications for gap financing. They're also providing approval of the conditional determinations of vouchers and tenancy support services. So that's the process we used for the last few years. It's been pretty effective. So you know, right, those resources are listed in the memos. We did something interesting in the 2024 PSH RFA, wherein we added tenant-based vouchers to the RFA. So this is a move away. In the past, you've approved memos for individual RFAs, like the Olmstead Advancement RFA or the Justice-Oriented RFA. And based on feedback from applicants, that they didn't know when those resources were kind of available because those RFAs would just sort of fall out of the sky. We put those tenant-based resources into the PSH RFA in 2024. Interesting thing happened. We have all of our tenant-based requests were for expansions of existing allocations. So what we just like to do today, we don't feel we need a formal approval, but we did want to make sure you feel comfortable with this and you had eyes on it, that we're expanding 3 existing tenant-based allocations with Second Chance Center, with Homeward Alliance's Fuse program, and with the City of Greeley's supportive housing program. And then we're also expanding the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless's tenant-based allocation at Clarion Inn / Renewal Village. So those programs are growing in size, but they are still dictated, right? We have updated supportive service budgets. We did an updated review of these projects, and we feel confident they'll be good additions to our supportive housing portfolio, but just wanted to make you aware of these expansions.
Thank you, Zach. I note under Clarion Inn that you have a project-based state housing voucher. Is that a HAP-based contract? I'm not used to seeing the project-based voucher programs from the state.
Sure thing. Yes. So we do have project-based state housing vouchers. We have a large portfolio of those. We have been able to get investors comfortable, but we use a HAP contract. It's the state version of the federal HAP contract. And we do have several tax credit and non-tax credit projects with those project-based state housing vouchers. I'm happy to provide a list if that would be helpful.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you, Zach.
Sure thing.
Sam?
Thank you. Zach, I just had a question. Can you tell us what the challenges are in administering services on a scattered site basis? Or are these applicants like the Colorado Coalition, the other applicants besides the Colorado Coalition, are they going to be using the vouchers in a specific site and not scattered sites?
Great question. So yes, these will be scattered site tenant-based vouchers, and that does come with challenges around, right? We're relying on private landlords and property owners who are willing and able to accept a voucher. The benefit of the tenancy support services funding that we're providing is that gives our lead service provider, who we enter into a tenancy support service contract with, they can use that TSS funding to really, pound the pavement, turn up units, do that outreach, travel to engage with those clients, and ensure that those adequate services are in existence and that our vouchers are utilized in a timely manner.
Is there any difference in terms of effectiveness or, of the programs between?
No. Okay. Yeah, I think we have the ability through our HMIS or Homeless Management Information System to split out the tenant-based supportive housing programs and project-based, but we still do consistently see that 94% annual housing stability rate demonstrated. So we can do that comparison. We also, I think having both options has been very valuable from the feedback of our providers, right? Some individuals really need that single site with controlled access, and other clients, they're going to feel, they feel more comfortable in a scattered site setting where they have their apartment and they're not in close proximity to other persons with those complex challenges. So having that continuum of options has been very valuable and is a critical resource.
All right. Thanks so much.
Any other questions from the board? James Martinez, I see that you're on. Okay, hearing none. Thank you for that presentation, Zach. We will move on to the project application review stage of the meeting. I'd like to ask that all presenters keep the presentation brief. We have 2 applications today. First up is Williams Point, and presenting is Pam Gibson.
Hello. I'd like to present Williams Point today. It is being developed by Metro West Housing Solutions, and they purchased the land 20 years ago. Property is located in Lakewood, just north of Colfax at Youngfield. They are proposing 44 apartment homes within 2 buildings. 13% of the units will be capped at 20% AMI. and more than a third fall between 20 and 40% AMI. The average AMI for the property is 50%. In 2023, Metro West received 9% LIHTC award. Today, they're requesting funds from two different fund sources. The first is the Transformational Affordable Housing Loan Fund in the form of a loan. This is referenced in the ProCon as Senate Bill 22-159 in the amount of $4.4 million and a housing development grant for $2.2 million. Funds will be used for construction, which is anticipated to begin later this month. A property can accommodate larger families. Almost a third of the units have 3 bedrooms. There's a resident services staff person on site to coordinate classes for adults and a homework club for children. And here with us today is Robin Kearns, project manager with Metro West Housing Solutions, and Ryan Lunsford, a consultant who will serve as the development lead.
Thanks, Pam. Well, you took some of our great highlights that we as Metro West like to provide in our properties. So, just real briefly, I got the update on our waiting list as Lakewood Housing Authority, and it's almost 7,000 people strong. We have been really trying to reach all areas of our city with developments of affordable housing. And so this one represents the first really as far west as we can go, where there really isn't much affordable housing options at all. So we feel this will be a great addition to an area of the city that lacks affordability. As Pam was mentioning, we really take pride in serving and getting to a lower, deeper affordability. So we are all the way down to 20% and 40%, but our unit mix is dominated by 2 and 3 bedrooms, and this is a multifamily development. So we're trying to have that kind of family, but we do have some studio and 1 bedrooms. Let's see. What we have tried to do with this project to push things is it will be all electric with a large solar array. And in doing all that, it actually makes things simpler to just include utilities. So our residents will not be paying power utilities, or actually I think any utilities. They'll all be within their typical monthly. And this just works better for the solar and with the offsets we'll get from the having solar and all electric. The neighborhood is a quiet residential neighborhood, and this property will have some pretty decent views of the Front Range, looking out north and west. As Pam had mentioned, some of the amenities, physically there'll be a playground, there'll be an outdoor courtyard with lights and nice seating, barbecues, and some garden areas. And also, as Pam had mentioned, the services, we do staff our service for our properties, for our residents to get homework and stuff. I saw a text come up. Was that for an address? Sorry if that was to me. And then just, I think really that this property is in line with what Metro West has done moving forward, which is just building really high quality developments. We want to make sure our buildings stand out and in a way that makes them not look affordable. It makes them look like anything that anybody would want to stay in. So we're very proud of working very hard on a high quality design. So I don't know with that, if there was any questions or anything more that would be helpful.
Thank you, Pamela and Robin. Any questions from the board on Williams Point? Sam?
Thank you, Anthea. Robin, thanks for the presentation. I'm always very supportive of affordable housing projects, especially when they're done by local housing authorities. I know Metro West has a great reputation. I'm just kind of curious that the numbers on this project represent about $150,000 per unit in DOH subsidy, either in loans or grants. Seems like it's on the rather high side for a Front Range project. I'm wondering if you and staff can justify that. And I feel kind of like the need to channel our former chair, who was very adamant about the number of 30% units and below that we get. And we're getting some at 20%, but the average is still coming out about 50% or so. Why aren't we getting more 30% units for such a large investment? And what are the unique characteristics of this project that are driving the need for such a high subsidy?
Well, some of it is the challenge of this property. It's very difficult to find developable spaces in the city, frankly. Everything is requiring at this point some sort of rezoning or very intensive work to even get to it. This property already had the zoning. What it also has is it has a hillside, and so there's a physical development cost here that's higher than a typical because of just the physical. It's not a flat piece of earth. It is steep. So there's definitely some added just construction cost in that. Otherwise, the per unit cost of just the building is pretty in line. So we do have some higher groundwork cost. So that might be what
I'd like to. Yeah.
Yes, right.
I'd like to. So Sam, I totally agree with you. If you were to take this number on the face value, this would seem extremely high. But remember that a significant portion of this is not in grant funds; it is in loan funds. Those loans are obviously beneficial, and greatly, significantly less than market, and we really appreciate that. But for a straight grant funding, this is not significantly out of line from what you're seeing on other projects, we feel.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. And thank you.
Any other questions from the board? If I'm looking at this correctly, the pro forma, I see a debt service coverage ratio of 1.04, which is really low and doesn't allow for much cushion for increases in expenses. How are you all comfortable with that? How did DOH get comfortable with that? Are there any funds that are going to be held in escrow, like an operating reserve escrow or something that gave you all comfort?
So typically, we typically do have funds, and I don't have it in front of me, and I probably should. I don't know the specific amount of reserves we have in this project. We do have adequate reserves. We also have, and I would say that Metro West has a stellar reputation over the last 30 years of operating affordable housing projects in good times and in bad. Not one of our projects has ever gone into default, has ever had any issues with reserve not being carried or lack of quality and performance and maintenance of the project. So Metro West stands behind everything they do and is in the top echelon of covering the project. So hopefully that allays any fear that of any potential shortfalls in this one particular project. It should be taken in context of the rest of the portfolio, which is extremely high performing, and funds are always available.
Okay, thank you for that comment, Wayne.
Yes, just to piggyback on what Ryan is saying. Not only we've got a good relationship with this developer, several projects have been completed with DOH, but also looking deeper into the numbers, their expense ratio is about 51%. So we do expect that as long as they maintain and control their costs, that the DCR is expected to increase every year, so that by the year 12, 13, when they're getting close to getting their developer fee all paid back, and that DCR does rise to 115. So to a more acceptable level by the time they finish with their tax credit compliance period.
Okay, so it rises to 1.15 in year 14.
Exactly.
It's atypical. Standard usually is 1.15 and it rises way beyond that. So it's a bit aggressive, but I appreciate the response about Metro West having strong financials and being willing to bridge any gaps that should occur, cash flow gaps, as well as hopefully there being some reserves. So I'm adding it more as a comment too for DOH staff. If you all looked at that and you feel comfortable with it, then all is well. Pamela?
Yes, the Transformational Loan Fund allows applicants to go down to 1.05. So this is a little below that, and that's one reason this is an unusual situation. And we have seen close to 1.05 for other applicants, or we are seeing them now.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sign of the times. All right, well, that's all that I had. Any other questions from the board? Great, appreciate the application here. Next up is Sloan's Lake, and I'll be recusing myself on this one. And presenting today is Richard Stevenson.
And Richard is on vacation today and tomorrow, so I am, as his manager, I'm pinch hitting for him. Just give you a quick summary of this one. Sokolov Community Development is proposing the new construction of 158 affordable rental units in the Sloan's Lake area of West Denver. DOH has already awarded an HDG cash flow loan of $5 million in February 2023. This supplemental funding award would amount to about $4.5 million. This will allow the project to reach financing close expected in the fall of this year, and it will also provide the necessary mezzanine level of support for the project's application to the city and county of Denver for an additional $6 million in tax increment financing. That application has already been completed by the applicant, and they're expecting to get some news either early in August. Despite the high cost of developing this area of Denver, this project will include 8 units at 30% of AMI with a total average affordability of 57%. One of the unique aspects of this project is that of those 8 30% AMI units, 7 of them are 3-bedroom units that will be targeted for low-income families in the area. Another aspect of this difficult financing stack for this project is over $7 million, and more than 10% of the financing stack will in fact be owner equity and include a seller carryback note. Now to present the project are David Zuckert, CEO, John Lucero, both from Sokolov, and Aaron O'Neill from SB Clark.
Thank you all. Thank you, commissioners, and Wayne, Andrew, and Richard. Really such great work. Thank you for balancing so many constraints that you guys had as staff, having been on the other side of this, seeing these challenges. Wayne and Richard and Andrew have done a really good job of understanding this relatively complicated project of 158 units in an area where affordable housing is at a desperate premium. We've stayed very close with Denver Public Schools. We're working with their HEN group, their homeless education network. We would like these 7 3-bedroom units to be occupied by families with DPS kids that have been facing housing insecurity. This is, as John and I understand it, for DPS, the highest area for homelessness in DPS. So we hope to be able to arrive at these stable housing at really a critical time. Displacement has been rampant for 10 years in this neighborhood, and the board, with your help, first in HDG and now in this request, I'm thankful for helping to get this project fully funded. I'll any other questions, but I know to keep this brief.
Thank you, David. Are there any questions from the board? Sam?
Thank you, Anthea. David, looks like a great project. My questions are 2 of them. One is, you originally got a HDG grant. Was there an anticipation that you were going to need additional funding at that time? Or was this something that kind of came up as the project evolved?
I actually, in preparation for a question just like that, I went back and looked at SB Clark's original early 2021, late 2020 pro forma that they put together. Costs at the time were at about hard costs were about $32, $33 million. They're now at 42, which is not surprisingly, Sam, and you know this to be the case, rampant increase in hard costs. So we've continued to face struggles of pricing this and having it come in at an achievable level. And so there was not an expectation that we were going to need subsequent dollars, but did as costs have continued to increase. And interest rates obviously have only compounded that really in the last year.
Second question, thanks for that answer, is I noticed that you had applied for a CHAFA loan, or at least that's what the write-up indicated, and that you were, the project was denied that loan. Can you tell us the reasons for the denial?
If I remember the request at the time, it was for an unsubordinated, unsecured loan that would have provided gap financing for the TIF, tax increment finance back loan. There was CHAFA was not in a position that the HOF requires, Housing Opportunity Fund requires that there to be collateral and cash flow. So at the time we were rejected.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Sam?
If I can, and this is really towards staff, you know, these two projects have kind of reminded me of the amount of money that we're kind of burning through these days. And I think the monies are going for great projects. There's no doubt about that. I'm wondering, in some instances, have we looked at the idea possibly of buying down rates over at CHAFA to make these projects pencil out a little bit better? So we're using our money in a more limited form in order to buy a rate down, and then depending on CHAFA to generate the bond money to fund the loan.
You know, I don't know if that is something that the Division of Housing has considered. I know that, you know, we're in constant conversations with CHAFA, you know, on all of these deals, and, you know, as well as the governor's office, and definitely something that we can look into, you know, as we enter a little bit more of a resource constrained environment, and, you know, wanting our funds to go as far as they can and fund as many projects as they can.
Okay, so it's something you will look into?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's all I've got. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, David and Andrew. David is our former chair of the State Housing Board. Thank you for your service. We're going to move on now to the project application voting stage for both of these deals. And since LaDonna and I are both recusing ourselves, we'll break them out separately, and we'll start with Williams Point. So if I could please ask for a vote of approval for Williams Point.
So moved.
Thanks, Sam.
Second.
Thank you, James Martinez, for the second. All those in favor signified by an aye or a hand raise.
Aye.
Aye. And Anthony, I have Monique's proxy.
Great, thank you for that. Anyone opposed? Okay, Williams Point is approved. Congratulations. And next up is Zocalo Sloan's Lake. If I could ask for a motion of approval for that application.
So moved. This is LaDon.
Thanks, LaDon.
Second.
Thank you for the second, Sam. All those in favor signified by an aye or a hand raise.
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Zocalo also passes and is approved. Thank you all for your time today for these great applications. We look forward to seeing you back here in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate
Thanks,
the
everybody.
consideration.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Thanks.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you all.
Bye.